All right. So, okay, before we go ahead with the session, any specific doubt that we can discuss on initial?
I mean, over the week 6 or overall?
Any, I mean, overall.
So this prefix coding, see, that's something that's confusing. If someone says, given something, how will you represent it in that prefix coding, right? That 634 byte representation.
Hmm.
In
34 byte.
not 34, I mean that in that there's that thing, right? Uh, Prefix coding in general. Can you just briefly cover that?
Prefix coding. Okay. So see what happens
Encoding, yeah.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, see what happens is, I mean, in one of the previous sessions, we're talking about the prefix coding. What did I mention, or what did I focused on was why exactly we need prefix coding. So there is prefix. There is this term prefix, meaning there is
See, why
something.
is known because you want to
Hmm.
basically reduce the number of, you don't want to use your whole 32 bytes, right? I mean 32 bits. It so then you will just reduce it, optimize it. Conceptually fine. Now supposing you want to
Okay,
do
so I mean, do you think the prefix coding is for that? I mean, to optimize?
maybe I may be wrong, but okay.
Okay. So
My
see,
basics are wrong.
okay, fine. So what happens is optimization can be done by variable encoding.
Right. Variable encoding. Sorry. Right.
Okay,
Right. Right.
so we
Yeah.
have these encodings like UCS4 and UCS2. So what happens is, for example, if let's say I'll just share my screen and show you. I'll have to write some bits, zeros and ones. So we'll start a whiteboarding. Okay, so is the jam visible now?
Yes.
All right. So what happens is, for example, I have we're talking about, let's say, 2-bit encoding. Okay, so where there are 32 bits, 8 bits, we're talking only about 2 bits. Okay, so what happens is you can store only I mean only those characters which come into 2 bits. Okay, so what are those characters? We have not defined yet. But what does this 2-bit mean? Okay, so whenever I say 8-bit, meaning you can store 256 such characters, right? So where does this number come from? So it comes from 2 raised to power 8, right? So these are the possibilities, n places, right? So there are 8 places, and each place can be filled with 2 possible values, that is zeros and 1. All right, so with that we come to this value. So if I take a 2-bit, suppose I have a characters, I have an encoding
So,
that only, yeah, are you
so you'll
speaking?
have basically 2 to the power 2, which means four characters can be represented.
Yeah. So I have this 2 bits. Okay. So 2 bits and 2 raised to power 4.
Yeah.
2 raised to
Now
power
2 raised
2,
power 2, which is
raised to power 2, which is 4. All right.
so,
So now I can store 4 distinct characters in
yep,
this encoding.
correct.
All right. Now if
Yeah.
I want to store a fifth character,
Then you have to
what
increase the
will
number of bytes. You'll have to go to three bits. Basically, you'll need the third bit
yeah.
position now.
So if I do this, I'll have 8 such possibilities, right?
Correct.
So I cannot add a bit such that I can store one more. I'll have to a bit will be added, and then it will add some extra characters also. So the 4 initially now became 8.
Correct.
Okay, this means I can store 8 distinct characters, which then the new subset, new set which I want. For example, I could store A, B, C, and D. Okay, I
Yeah.
wanted to store E, but I could not with this encoding. But now I can with this encoding.
Correct. So now you can go up to E
Yeah,
F G
so that is
H.
okay. That
Yeah.
is okay. But see, now these are the two encodings I have. These are the two known encodings. All right,
Yeah.
forget about this 32-bit 4-bit.
Yeah.
All right, so now if I have, let's say, I have a word. Okay, so this is a character set. Okay, this word is BAD. Okay, and I have
Okay.
another word BED.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so how many bits do I need to store this?
You will need at least one, two, three, and four. I mean, four characters. Four characters means 2 bits.
No, 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 I just want to store this
Oh,
bad.
that.
Okay,
So three
so if
characters.
I want to store this bad word, this is 3 character long.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I can do is, I can, since these characters B, A, and D can be stored with 2 bits, because my
Correct.
2 bits are, so 2 bits defined has these character, right? The set
Correct.
that was defined for 2 bits
Mm-hmm.
has these characters. All right, so I can store bad using two. So for each character, I need 1 bit.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so how many? So this is distinct, right? For example, so 2 bits, right? So each character I'll need 2 bits to store.
Yep.
Okay, what those 2 bits are, I don't know. I've not defined that. Meaning, 00 is for A or not. That is not defined. But I'm sure that for storing A, I will need these 2 bits.
Yep.
Okay, so for storing complete bad, I will need 2 into 3 bits.
Yes.
Okay, this is fine. But now if I want to store this bed, I
You'll have
have
to come
B
to
and D
this.
defined.
You'll have to come to this
So I'll have to come to
encoding.
this. Okay, so if I want to store this bed, then I'll have to use this. So what will happen? Each each character now will require 3 bits to
Three
store.
bits. Correct.
Okay, so how many total bits required? 3 into 3.
Three into three. Yeah.
Okay, now when I this character set required 6 bits to store this letter or this word bad. Okay, and I could not store bed using this encoding. So what did I do? I changed my encoding, and now I can store this bed, which takes 9 bits
Yeah.
total, 9 bits, and this took 6 bits. Okay, so at this point, what I want to do is, let's say I use an encoding that is mixed. Okay,
Okay.
so how can I know that I want to store bed and it is not possible with 6 bits. Okay, conventionally, if I went with very simple encoding with 3 bits, I needed 9 bits. What if I want to efficiently use this encoding? 9 bits are okay, but it is actually storing, it is actually storing A using 3 bits, where I could have stored A using 2 bits also.
Yeah.
Getting? So, what if I took 2 bits for B, 2 bits for D, because they were defined in 2 bits. Okay, but for E, I could not store it using 2 bit, or it was I did not have any binary number specified with to store E. Okay, so I'll store this with 3-bit.
Okay.
You get this? Okay, so let's say
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to
I got it.
say. You got this,
So
right?
basically, you're
So what happens
you're,
is
you're
now,
using both the combinations of encoding.
yeah, both the combinations of encoding. So what is the number of bits that I require now?
Now you
7.
need just 7.
All right. So this is the concept of variable encoding.
Yeah.
Okay. So variable meaning, if my character, a particular character, can be stored with less number of bits, use those number of bits. If at all I need an extra set of bits for a character which was not there in the original or the previous encoding, I'll have to increase my size of the bit, size of the for that particular character, right? Size of encoding.
Correct.
Okay, so this is called as variable encoding.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
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 we
far clear.
can, right?
Yeah.
So we can, extend this concept to things like UCS 4. This is a variable encoding. Okay. So at this point, I
Mhm.
understand that it can, along with many other extra characters, it can store all characters. It can store all characters of ASCII.
Yeah.
Okay. But ASCII was requiring only 7 bits, talking about original, let's say.
Yeah.
Okay. But
Yes.
UCS,
Yeah. Hello. You're breaking up. Or is it just me? Eh, can anyone else hear others?
Unable to listen anything.
Yeah, same here. So I think we lost him.
hello, I'm
Okay.
back. Sorry, I lost my connection. Am I audible?
Yes, now we can hear you. We lost you in between.
Sorry, I lost my connection actually. Is it fine now? I'm audible?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay. So, okay, let me go back to our jam. All right. So, what I was saying is, let's say, so we know that all the characters that belong to ASCII can be stored by UCS4. But the converse is not true. There can be some characters which only UCS4 can store.
Correct. That's true.
Okay.
Because that UCS4 allows you 32 bits.
Yeah. So the characters which UCS4 can store are beyond the range of ASCII
Yeah.
original. Okay, so there can be some characters require, which can be stored by UCS4, meaning it will be stored using 32 bits. Okay, so instead of, let's say so this was a 3 character long word, right? If I am to store it using UCS4, only UCS4 and considering them to be those characters which belong to only UCS4 encoding, it will take 32 plus 32 plus 32.
Yes.
Okay, but in this case, I am talking about a character which could have been stored by ASCII, a character which could have been stored by, let's say, UCS2. Okay, so in that case, it would have taken 16-bit.
Yeah.
Okay, and then a character that can be stored only by UCS4. So in that case, it would have taken 32 bits. So this is like efficiency. This is how I'm trying to make my document giving the same meaning but as efficient as it can be.
Yep.
All right. Now, this is about variable encoding. So, I mean, the prefix, the term that we were discussing, is not related to encoding different. I forgot
So
what you
this
said.
I got it. So basically, I got mixed up. I was assuming prefix is also for optimizing, but okay, variable is more for optimizing. right?
Yeah. So I mean, as I got, you said that okay. So there are, let's say, 32 bits, and you don't want to use all those 32 bits. So therein you use prefix coding, right?
Yeah, so that was wrong. My
That was not the idea.
Yeah.
The In order to improve my efficiency, meaning in order to reduce the size of my document without actually losing the information, I can use variable encoding. All right.
Yes, got it.
And if at all I have a word where all characters can be stored even by ASCII, why would I go for UCS4?
Correct.
Okay, so
So
that is the
yes,
idea.
optimizing on the storage. Yeah.
Okay, now we'll come to prefix coding. So what does prefix coding mean? There are 8 bits. Okay, we're talking about characters and encoding that store or that takes 8 bit to store a character.
Okay.
Okay, so it takes 8 bit to store a character. Okay, but that 8 bit is not completely storing the information or character A.
Correct. Okay.
Okay, some of it will be reserved to say what exactly it is storing. Okay, so for example, these 5 bits, let's say I have this number 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, and 1, 0, 0.
Okay.
Okay, these are the three numbers. Okay, and then I have 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, and 0, 0, let's say 0, 0, 1. These are four different numbers. Okay, so I have taken three different bits and 5 bit different four such numbers. All right, I'll just try to take what I'm trying to say. Okay, so let's say if 0, 0, 1 represents fruit, okay, 0, 1, 0 represents clothes, and 1, 0, 0 represent, let's say, uh, vegetables. Okay,
Okay.
this 0, 0, 0. So I'll write 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. This, it can be this 0, 0, 0, 5 zeros. It can be banana. Okay, it can be shirt.
Okay. So to differentiate it, you would attach the right prefix there.
Yeah. So and one more thing. Let's say beater god.
Yeah.
Okay. So I hope you get what I'm trying to do here.
Correct. Correct. So right now
So
with the
single
five
number.
characters, we cannot differentiate which type of a thing it is.
Yeah. So this is the information. I mean, banana is encoded as 5 zeros,
Yeah.
but shirt is also encoded as 5 zeros, and bitter gourd is also encoded as 5 zeros. Okay, so
Mm.
without knowing what these first digits are, I mean, I need to say that you take a fruit whose code is zero. I mean, 5 zeros. Then my 8 bits make sense to me.
Correct.
Okay, so with this number, what does this store? This is banana.
It says
Okay,
it's a fruit and banana. Okay.
banana. And if I do this, it is shirt,
Yeah.
right? So what is happening? The information is not changing, but the context is changing. All right. So prefix coding is the context.
Okay.
So these 3 bits are reserved to actually give the context, and these 5 bits are reserved to give the actual information. Okay. For me, actual information is either banana or shirt or bitter gourd. But to store it, I will require all 8 bits. But to store it, I require 8 bits. But am I encoding it all with all the 8 bits? No, I'm using only 5 bits to encode, because 5 zeros by itself represent banana, but it also represents shirt and it also represents bitter gourd. So what exactly
Okay.
I'm trying to pinpoint?
So maximum things that you can encode with this is 2 to the power 5,
Hmm.
because you have only 5 available bits
Hmm.
with you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that is the idea of prefix coding. Okay. And then there is a question based on this.
Correct. I
So
mean,
yeah. So what happens is there is a Unicode U plus something,
correct, correct. See, that is
and
where I
then
was coming.
yeah. So I hope now you get the idea what we're trying to do. How we'll do, I'll show you. That
Ha.
is not any issue. I mean, I've given probably that question was taken every term, but okay. And then I want to represent this Unicode to UTF-8. Okay. What goes
Okay.
to computer, read by computer, rendered by computer is UTF-8. Okay. So it carries the context and the information.
Okay.
Okay. Any
This
doubt?
is okay. Can you give me a little more background between UCS, uh, U plus UTF-8? I think I'm a little weak on that UTF-8 concept.
No, there is nothing with UTF-8. I mean,
Okay.
there is nothing much you have to think on UTF-8. It's just that how many I forgot how many we are storing, because I don't remember the table, but we don't. How long it is I forgot, to be exact. I guess it is 32
Mhm.
bit. I'm not sure. So UTF-8, each UTF-8 character is like 32 bit long, and then that 32 bit does not completely contain the information. It contains the information plus what that particular information refers to.
Okay.
Okay, so that is what we are doing. So is nothing but Unicode is nothing but a code point that specify a particular character.
Okay.
All right, it
Yeah.
specifies a particular character, but if I give the context of that character, or where I want to use, how I want to use that information, that context is given by UTF-8.
Okay.
Okay, so that is what is being done in that question. All right, so if I just try to take the same example, can you tell me which question it was?
In fact, I was trying to find that question. Since morning. I've been struggling to find that question.
Okay, wait,
I've gone through all the assignments. I couldn't find
and
that
it was
question.
practice assignment question number 12, I can remember, but it was week 2, I guess.
Yeah, it's in week two. That much I know. I scanned all of week one. I think week two it is there.
It's week 2, practice assignment, question number 12.
Ah,
Here
there.
it is.
Yes.
Okay, so we have this 543A9, U plus 543A9. This is a
Right.
Unicode point. Okay, Unicode point meaning certain information.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in our case, if I go to Jam, in our case, 5 zeros was certain information.
Yep.
Okay, what was that information will be given with the help of this context. Okay, so yeah, so 4 byte meaning 32 bit, right? So UTF-8 is
Mm.
a 32 bit representation. So what happens is we are trying to distribute these 4 bytes, wherein we are giving some information, some context. Okay, if I'm using 1 byte only, what should be the context? What should be the information? If I'm using
Okay.
2 bytes, how many
So
are
if
free bits?
the so if the information that I receive is 1 byte, then I look at the first digit and check what is the first byte. Okay.
Okay, now if you see, I mean, if you have attended the revision session, there we had classes of IPv4. Okay, so we saw something similar there. Okay, the classes distribution,
Mhm.
0 1 1 0, and there was 1 0 also. but the pattern was similar. I'm not trying to relate those two. I'm just saying the similarity.
Yeah.
All right. So what is happening is this information is the system information. Okay. What does that represent? I don't know. Okay. This is something that computer understands.
Right.
What is the actual information is stored in the free bits. So this X actually in digital electronics, this X actually means don't care. Don't care means you don't care what there is, 0 or 1. Meaning it there can be
Okay.
anything and it will not affect the or
Correct.
it will not affect the actual understanding of computer. What it will look at is 110. Okay, so one
Yeah.
one zero one zero. If there is a 2 byte information, 11010 is some information that is some information that the system requires to understand the actual meaning of these the bits that are coming after it.
Yeah.
All right. Now I
Yeah.
just need to what I need to do is I need to see this 543A9. Okay. Now this
Right.
U plus is just saying that it is a Unicode point. It's
Correct.
not we are not adding U and this number. Okay,
So we
because
just
then
look at
yeah,
543A9.
yeah. So we'll look at this 543A9. Okay. Can you tell me what is the representation? What representation is this?
That's a hexadecimal, right?
Right, right. Hexadecimal. Why? Because I
So
can
which
see there is an A.
A there, correct? Because
Right.
of that
If
A kind of,
correct. So if A would not have been there, it could have been. It could have been which one?
then it could have been your binary. That's that. Not
Then it could have been
uh,
both. I
it
mean, you
could
could
have
not have
been both.
said
It
hex,
couldn't be both, correct?
right? Hex and decimal both.
Right.
But since there is A and this represents a single bit information, I mean single bit meaning single information, I will say
So
that it
we
is an
can
hex.
hex.
Okay. Now, I mean, if you recall that session, uh, how many bits are required to store a single hex digit or a single hex number?
Single hex.
Okay, fine. So we will go back to Jam. Okay, so as I
Something.
said, what is
Hmm.
what is the first number in hex? 0?
Yeah, 0 and it goes up to 9 and 10 becomes A.
Hmm. So in that case, what will be the last number?
Last number is 9 here, right?
That is for hex or decimal.
Hex.
Okay, so for then what is the last number for decimal?
Oh, decimal.
See, decimal numbers go from 0 to 9, right?
Correct, correct, correct.
And most. Okay, so in
Okay,
case of
so
hex meaning it's
it goes up
16.
to,
Okay, 16
correct.
characters, a set of
It goes
16
to up to
characters.
F, A, B, C,
F,
D, E, F, right?
F.
Yeah,
Right.
so that is 16. It goes, those are those 16 characters.
Okay, so if this is 0 and if I want to count 16, what will be the last decimal number?
15.
15. Okay, so if I go back to converting this decimal to this binary, oh sorry, this decimal to binary, I'll write what is the equivalent binary equivalent of 0?
0 is 0.
0. What is the binary equivalent of 15?
15, you'll have to divide it by 2, right?
And when you do that, you get 4 months.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just to keep the uniformity in all the digits, I know the maximum number will have 4 bits
Hmm.
in hex.
Okay.
So, to keep the uniformity, what I'll do, I'll just write 0, 0, 0, and 0.
Okay.
So, what
Got
will
it.
happen? Every number there is 0, 1 to 9, A to F will be 4 bits long.
Yeah.
Okay. Can it be any larger than that? I mean, 5 bits,
No, because our character set is only completing at this, right?
right? 15.
Yeah.
Meaning number, every hex number,
Is
if
a
I want to
4-bit.
represent in binary, I have to do it in 4 bits.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I go back to my number, this 543A9, how
Mhm.
many binary digits it will take?
So it is five characters. So it will take, each one takes four. So about 20
20
bits.
bits.
Right.
Okay. How do we convert this complete hexadecimal into binary?
So if can we just do the straight? Five is again divide by two and get the
Yeah.
binary
I
digits
mean,
like
that is
that.
how we do it. What is the number? Just let me write.
So
Five,
five
four, three,
is,
eight, nine.
yeah. So five becomes divide by two is one, two twos are four, two one
Okay.
zero
So, I mean, you
two
can do that. I'll
zero
just write
one.
in quick
Yeah,
succession.
zero
Okay.
one zero one. Five is
Zero,
zero
one,
one.
zero.
Correct.
4 is 0, 1, 0, 0.
Zero.
3
It's
is
a five.
0, 0, 1, 1.
Yeah.
Okay. A is 10, right? So it is
Ten.
1, 0, 1, 0.
Right.
9 is
Okay.
9. So it's 1, 0, 0, 1.
Yep.
Alright. So this is, 20-bit long binary representation of this hex number.
Yes.
All right. So if I know that I have 20 bits to store actual information, how many
Mm-hmm.
bytes will I need? For that, I have to refer to this table. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, I mean, which set will it come to?
20 bits. So it will,
See here, I mean, you have to go with the free bits.
yes.
So if
So
there are,
you'll be touching almost the last one
yeah.
because that has
So
21 free bits.
yeah. So anyway, see if I'm able to store 16 bits, I'm losing on 4 bits. That is okay. So I
Yeah.
cannot go with 3 bits or 3 bytes.
Three
I'll have
bytes.
to go to the fourth byte to store the
Yeah.
information.
Correct.
Okay. So how many free bits are there in 4 bytes? Okay, 21. So 21 free bits are there. 21 excess are there, and I have only 20 bits to store, meaning I can easily store in 4 bytes.
Yeah.
Okay. So which one will I use? I'll use this one, the last row.
Correct.
Okay. So I'll just draw the last row here. Okay. So let me just it's 4 times 1 zeros, then 1 0 1 0 1 0. So it's 1 1 1 1 0. So this is 5 bits. So I'll have 3 free bits here.
Correct.
Then 1 0. Then I'll have 6 free bits here.
And then again one zero and six free bits.
All right. So this is a 21-bit long space or space I have wherein I'll have to store 20 bits. Okay. And where will that free bit, extra bit be? Because I have to store 20 and there are 21.
It will go in the last one,
Which
right?
one? Here?
No, this the extreme left.
Yeah. So why is that? Because I will make this number 21-bit long by adding a 0 to MSB. Why? Because
Oh,
that does not make any difference.
correct.
Okay. If I do this, I'm changing my number by,
That number
power of,
changes. Yep.
by quite a large power of 20s, changing
Yes.
my number to that. Okay. So I cannot do that. So if I do this, my number becomes 21 digits or 21 bits without any loss or gain of unnecessary information. Okay.
Yeah.
Now what I have to do, I just have to place these numbers here.
Or by the sets of six.
I mean, whatever are places free. So here 3, then 6, 6, 6.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's 0, 0, 1. And then it is 0 1 0 1 0 0, and then we have 0 0 1 1 1 0, and then we have 1 0 1
Zero,
0
zero,
0 1.
zero, one.
Okay, now this is again, I mean, I from one set of bits I came to another set of bits. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. This is 21 bits actual information.
Correct.
This is 32 bits. This is info plus context. Okay. So
Yeah.
we have somebody joined it. Okay, fine. All right. So now this information makes more sense because this is information with context. Computer will
Yeah.
understand or system will understand what to do with this zeros and ones. Okay.
Okay.
So I just have to convert this binary to hexadecimal. Okay. How to convert that?
So, I mean, one way is convert it into decimal and then divide by 16, right?
Mhm.
But that seems to be a cumbersome way.
Yeah. So I mean to convert a binary to hex, what I'll do is I'll
Oh,
see.
take the same first four digits and convert. Find out
That's
which
all.
it
I mean
is.
we are just doing the reverse. Okay.
Take the four. Find out what's the number.
There's only one catch here. There's only one catch. The number bits will always not divide by 4. Okay. For example, if you have this 21, consider it to be a 21 bit long. You cannot divide by 4 and have, complete set of 4s. You'll have one extra bit. So how to make these pairs? How to divide by 4s? So you'll go by left,
Yeah, take
left
the
to right.
four from
Sorry,
there.
right to left.
Take four,
Okay.
four, four, and go.
Yeah. Why am I doing from right to left? Because by any chance, if I have group something like this, and I mean two are there and I don't have any numbers, I can fill in with zeros. At any stage, I'll have to take
Oh,
care that I'm not
okay. So
changing
we
the.
don't consider when we do the reverse thing, we don't consider those prefixes of 1010 and 10. We have to only take the actual numbers.
No, no, no. We have to consider all of them because this information is more important to me because this is the actual information. I can
Okay.
make sense out of this information.
So now if we convert it back, the first four is G, right?
Okay, so there
One
is no
zero zero.
G
No,
in
not G. Sorry.
hexadecimal.
No, sorry, not G. What did I mean?
Okay, so what I'm saying is to convert a binary, any long binary number into hexadecimal, what you need to do is just keep on making groups of 4
Okay.
from right to left.
Hmm.
Okay. Why I'm saying that we have to make groups from right to left? This is because if at all there was a number, let's say if I try to make a grouping of this 21, okay, what will happen? From here I'll make, right?
Yeah. In the end, you'll get only,
Okay.
yeah.
So if I am left with this 1 0, what I can do is just add 3 zeros without changing the meaning, right?
Right.
So I don't have to change information at any stage.
Yep.
Okay, so if I make the group of this 4 now, once the group is made, I can convert this back to hexadecimal very easily because I know that every group of 4 bits will actually represent a number in hexadecimal,
Yeah.
right? So this 5 times 1 or 4 times 1 will become F. Okay, 3 times 0 and 1 becomes 1.
Yeah.
This becomes 9. Okay, this becomes 4. This is 8.
Yeah.
This is 14. So what is 14 now? 14 is
14
E.
is A, B, C, D, E, F, E. E.
14 is E.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I have 10. What is 10? A.
10 is A.
And then what is 1001 is 9.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the UTF representation of this Unicode point.
Wow. You know what you should do? This
Hmm.
exclusive video till this point, you should
Hmm.
store it separately
Actually, this
so
is
that we
done.
get.
This is actually done.
Yeah, I know you have done it in so many videos, but it's
Hmm.
difficult to find in which video it is. You can name it. Okay, for encoding,
Yeah,
refer
yeah.
to this video.
Yeah, actually, it was. I mean, I'm not sure if that was done, but we had created a small, or what we can say, part of video, and we have marked it, right, flagged it to be from here, the way we are doing with tagging, right?
Uh,
So I've done that. I'm not sure why it's not there
or
still in the.
easy to find. See on your this page, right? What is that course page? Somewhere, one video. exclusively for this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Because
I'm
what you have explained right now is beautiful. I mean, you've explained it nicely.
Can you explain the last part? I
okay.
didn't get it.
So from this conversion.
Yeah, the conversion. Yeah.
All right. So what we do generally for converting a binary number to hex number. So let's say I have this number 10, sorry 0101111011010. It can be any bit long, right? So what we do is we make the group of four from the right meaning from the right most, and then keep going on left, right? Okay, and then I am left with these two. So what I do is I just make a group and add two zeros. Okay, if and I also explained that why we are doing it from right, because at any point I can add zeros on the left side if there is any remaining space, but I cannot do the same on the right side because then that changes the information completely. Okay, so for example, what was our original number? It was starting from here. So if I started making group from here, which is a wrong approach, what will happen? I'll add two zeros here, which will completely change the information. Okay, so therefore we add zeros to most significant bit to not change the information. Okay, and then once these groups are made, we convert this groups uh, to their hexadecimal corresponding number. Okay, so just let me go back to the right method, only keep that one. So this is the right way of grouping. Okay, these two are added extra.
Yeah.
All right. So what I'll do is now I'll convert each group to a hexadecimal equivalent. All right. So this one is nothing but one. Okay. This is 7 and this is 5.
Yeah. How do we get that? That is 70111.
Uh, so see, there is 1 1 1. Okay. So what I have to do is I'm converting it into I have to convert it into decimal. Okay. I have to convert it into decimal.
Okay.
So what I do is to convert a number to decimal, I have to multiply. I mean, you just have to refer to the session that I've taken on by number systems. But okay, all right. So this is zeroth place value. This is 1, and this is 2.
Plus 2 plus.
Okay, which
Yeah, I got
number?
that. That is 2 square plus 2 plus 1. Okay, got it.
1. That's how you get,
Yeah.
right? So what you can do is for octal numbers, for binary, for hexadecimal numbers, you can just keep on making the numbers and their equivalent. So for example, 000 is 1, and all the way will go till 1111. So that is 15, which is f.
Okay.
Okay, so if you keep on increasing 1, you will go from 000 all the way till 1111, and these numbers will increase from 0 to f. This is not 1,
Okay.
this is 0. Okay, and then I mean, after some number of questions you solve, you get familiar with what number is what. Okay, so then you can directly write this. So this 175 is hexadecimal equivalent of this binary number. So that is what I've done here. This was 32-bit, and if you see, this 32-bit will become 8-bit because 32 divided by 4 is 8. Therefore, UTF-8. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was about the encoding, and so there is a difference between variable encoding and prefix coding. Okay, got the idea?
Yes, got it.
All right, so at this point, I'll close this Jamboard and we'll go back to the actual content. All right, so I wanted to discuss some briefs of APIs, and
Yeah, that will be good.
I hope some of it was discussed in the previous session on APIs before the mock. I guess on Wednesday it was. So I mean, I could not go through the session. Can you give me a brief idea on what was covered there? If any one of you attended.
I think I attended, but the discussion did not go into APIs. I may be wrong. I think it was more doubt clarifications were going on.
Was it? I mean, see, one session that I
I
took
may
on
be
mock.
wrong. I may be wrong.
Okay, anyways, okay. So what the idea is, what I mean, the as what we have been doing in the solve with instructor sessions. So we are right from week 2 are working on same problem statement. Only the technologies keep on adding, right?
Correct.
So it becomes
Yes.
difficult for those who have not attended previous sessions. Okay, so at this point, what I wanted to do was take the application that we have created in week 5, okay, on
Yep.
one to many relationships, and at some point, I mean, to some extent, we could create the some of the endpoints and the front end for that, right? So if I go back to that application, so there is one application running. What is it? I'll show you later. But what I want to show is the other application, right? So this was the one that is running. So week 5. So this was our application. We added, a couple or 2 to 3 endpoints. I'll just try to run this application. What I have done is pretty simple. I mean, some of you might have quite good understanding of what we were doing in the session. Let me just run it. I'll show you. All right. So so this complete application hovers around two models in the database. One is categories. So if you see these 6 here, these are categories, and then I can go to any of it clicking on it and see what are the items that are there. Okay. So categories and items are two models that we have done and created front end for. Okay, so I could interact with this application and perform some task on the front end, right? So one of it was to see what are the categories that are created in database. The other is to be able to add a category. Okay,
Okay.
and then if I go ahead, we could see that I can see number of items that are there in the category. Okay, so these are the endpoints that we had created. Okay, so one endpoint was the home, which gives you all the categories. The
Yeah.
second is create underscore cat, which means it allows you to create a category, and creating a category will only take category name from our side because category ID. And just let me go to the models also and show you what. So these are the, yeah.
Okay. So, okay. Anyway, the data from the form is sent as a JSON. So we just use the get form, get that thing, and read the data from the form because it's already in a JSON format, right?
Uh,
So when we
hmm,
add a category, we are displaying the form and we enter the data,
hmm.
and the data comes is already structured as a JSON object, right?
No, so the information goes as a request body.
Correct.
It goes
It
in the
comes in the
body.
request. Yeah, it goes in the
Hmm.
body, which then we just use the same thing that we did earlier as get form request, or that read that data into an object, right?
Correct. So what we are doing is we to add a category. What we'll do, we'll take that category name with the help of
Mm.
form and
Yeah,
create a category object in the database and store it.
correct.
That's all
Yeah,
we were doing.
yeah,
Right.
got it.
So in app2.py, which was the application I'm running, what we did was, yeah. So we were able to see all the categories, create categories, and then
Mm.
add items to a category.
Yeah,
Okay. What I ask that we can work on was to be able to update a category. Update meaning there is only one field that we can update, keeping all
mm.
the things same, that is category ID and all, we can update its name,
Yeah,
all right, and delete a category. So these are all CRUD operations that can be performed on a category. Okay, so we did two of
Yes.
them because we can add a category, that is we can write, okay, create an object in the database and read objects from the database. So we did two of those. The two of the remaining CRUD operations are updating and deleting a category. All right. So I
Right.
want to add that to the application, but I want to add that to the application, not the front end. Meaning, I want to create. I mean, I want to bring in these functionalities with the help of APIs. Okay. Now,
Mhm.
what actually are we doing with the APIs? Let me just give you a brief idea with the help of Jamboard again. So what happens is there is one app. So this is one app. Okay, app one, and I want to create another app called as app two.
Right.
There is another app called app two. Okay, and then what happens is some of the operations or functions that are going to be performed in app two are very much similar to those that are happening in app one. Okay.
Yeah.
So, for example, let's say I want to create a function that sums. I take very simple example. Okay. So I want to create a function that does the sum. Okay. And I observe that this application one is already having a function that performs sum. Okay.
Okay.
So, I mean, there is a functionality in this application one that uses this sum functionality, and because of
Okay.
that the application developers of app one have created that application.
So you're calling that function from app one.
Hmm.
You're calling app two and say, okay, give me the result of basically perform the function sum on A and B. So you pass the parameters A and B into app B, and it responds with the value.
So what is it I'm trying to do is this sum already exists here. Okay, this is something I want here,
Oh, okay, okay.
and
So
this is
from
already existing here.
you
So
call
what I'm
it
trying
from
to do,
two to
what I'll
one.
do is instead of adding that functionality to my app and adding to the code of my application, what I'll do is I'll just connect with this application. Okay, give it the data that I want to add, and this application will result me with the sum.
Yep.
I'm sorry. So what is happening here? I am saving a lot of time by not writing this function sum. Okay, now this sum looks very pretty simple, but we are talking about controllers now. Okay, so this is what is application programming interface. Okay,
Right.
now this application may be written in some other language, and we are using Python. This means the way of defining a function, def sum, may be different in this app.
Yeah. Basically,
Okay.
you're isolating how it is implemented there. All you're concerned is the result. I'll give you two values. You give
Yeah.
me back the result.
Yes. And to achieve that, and for that, my data has to go into very simpler manner. Transfer and get received in a very simpler manner. And that is where JSON comes into picture.
You pass the data in the JSON body, basically.
Yeah. So you pass the data as JSON, get the response as JSON.
JSON. Correct.
Okay. And with JSON, I don't have to worry about the interface. Okay.
Correct. It's text,
So
basically simple text format.
correct. So I can simply take the sum and represent it the way I want. Okay. Because this data being very simplest form, a simple, a very similar to dictionary, I can use dictionary and then manipulate the data as I want. Okay.
Right.
There, this at this point, sending and receiving the data in JSON removes this language barrier. So this application can both communicate without having to know each other's language.
Correct.
Okay, that is why we are talking about application programming interface. So this the programming of both the applications are interfacing or interacting with the help of information which both understand.
Correct.
Okay, so that is how APIs work. Now, the one requirement that we need is this application should expose this function sum.
Yep.
Okay, then only we can use it. Otherwise, we won't be able to use. If it is embedded and only confined to this application one, we won't be able to use it. So what happens is this application which is created is not only used by application one, but is exposed so that others can use it.
So it exposes the path, says that use this URL or path, and with this header information, send it to me.
Yes, that is what we are trying to do.
Yeah. So
Okay.
can we get into that definition of paths? Because fine, conceptually I got it. Now, if we want to talk about implementation, how do we define the path that it understands? Right?
Yeah. So
So
what it
sometimes you
does
give the
is,
URL, sometimes you give
uh,
URL with the parameter, say ID. Sometimes you give ID, then some other path step, and then another ID, says course ID and subject and course, something like that, right?
something like this.
Correct. So we have to structure this URL in our HTML and then do an href and make that call, right?
Not necessarily HTML.
Okay.
See, HTML only when we as a user are interacting with the application.
Hmm.
This sum function, I want the result of this sum function to come to my application at the backend. Okay, why would I want it to come on the front end?
HTML, correct. So we don't do an HTML, but we structure that path and send it.
See, what happens is uh, there is a URL, http. This is the URL. Okay.
Correct.
Now there are multiple ways of hitting this URL. I mean, sending a request to this URL and getting the response from this URL. The most common one is using HTML, or the
Correct.
most understood is using the front end.
Because that's easy. I mean, you can actually physically see it happening.
Yeah, so we can see that, okay, if I click this URL, click on this URL, or I can put this URL on the URL tab and just hit enter.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the most conventional way of looking at the URL. But there can be multiple ways of sending the information and retrieving the information in the raw format, and then manipulate the information or present the
Mm,
information in the way we want.
right.
Okay,
Okay.
so for example, if I am to receive the sum from this app to this app,
Yeah.
okay, and I want, let's say that sum is 15, any
Yeah.
number, the sum is 15. Why would I want this 15 to come like this?
Right.
This is HTML.
You'll get it in the JSON structure.
Yeah. No. So, see, what is happening with browsers in general? Browsers are sending the request, and how do you see what the response? The one that is coming on the screen. What is coming on the screen? HTML. So why do we want to add this unnecessary text if I can simply take this 15 and manipulate it behind the application and then show this 15 as 15?
Mm,
Okay, so take the send information at the back from in the background, receive the response in the background, and then show it the way you want. Okay, for
yeah.
that so if you're sending the information, what in the language of web application, sending the information is like hitting some URL with the information or with the
Yeah.
request.
Yeah.
Okay, so hitting the I mean sending information or receiving information behind the stage within the applications are done definitely by URL, and I don't want to involve front end to that. So this is
Right.
where I have things like APIs where I can directly make request.
Okay.
Okay, and the more primitive way to that is curl. So curl is
Correct.
probably the most non-interactive way of making a request.
Yeah.
Okay, but it gives the information as it is. So what curl sends is the actual response that is sent by the server. Okay, and the browser only renders HTML part of it.
Mm. Okay.
So that is what is happening. But in APIs, what we do is we are not communicating with the other application. I mean, I as a user, I'm not communicating with app one. I'm communicating with app two, interacting with app two. App two and app one are communicating with each other. Why would two applications want a front end?
Right.
Obviously.
Okay.
And
Got it. Yeah.
secondly, if I am a user, I can simply click on a URL of this function, I mean this application, and get the sum. I can do that. This application cannot go to front end of this application and click. So I need to find another way of actually hitting the URL,
Mm.
right? So therefore, the best way or the mode of this communication non-interactive is programming interface. That is what we call as APIs.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I
So with
broke your flow when you were going through a certain flow. Sorry, I broke your flow.
No, that's okay. That's okay. So, I'll continue with whatever I was saying. So, at this
Yeah.
point, what I wanted to say is, with the help of, so we are making this application. Let's say this application one was also made by us. So, definitely our stack would be HTML, CSS, and Flask,
Yeah.
right? So, this application was created in Flask, and I want some of its features to be implicitly used by another application. For that, I need to expose them.
Okay.
So that exposure or that exposing of certain URLs, okay, is done with the help of Flask RESTful.
Mm. Okay.
Okay. So what we are doing is we are creating these endpoints so that other applications can directly hit them
Oh,
and see the response.
okay. So right now we are creating those endpoints and
Yeah.
exposing them.
Yeah. Okay. So with the documentation and everything, what do we see? We see that a URL, what information it takes and what information it gives.
Correct.
Right, so we do that in documentation with the help of Swagger, Insomnia, right?
Yeah.
So what is that actually? We are doing nothing but hitting the exposed URLs or endpoints of an application that gives us some functionality.
Yeah.
It's not that
Okay.
you can tweak
Got
any other application, right?
it. Right.
Only
Right. Right.
exposed ones. So those exposed endpoints have to be created explicitly.
Correct.
All right, that is why we have something like Flask RESTful, which will help us to do that. Okay, so this is something that I've tried to do. All right, what I've done is I've created three endpoints. Okay, this is Insomnia. This is a local application that I've installed. Okay, I will also give you alternate. So if this is not installed, this will not stop you. So I'll just show you this. Okay, so this is Insomnia. You can download it for your
Yeah,
system.
I've done that. In fact, I did that for the Lab 6 assignment.
That's good. Fine.
And I've actually done the gets.
Uh-huh.
Gets are easy to do. Now the
Yeah.
posts are where I'm struggling with.
All right, fine.
I need to
So
get
I
better.
have, yeah, so I have two gets and I have one put. Okay. So get will give you the idea of get. So I mean, you can see that the difference of the endpoints.
Yeah,
One does not take any parameter or anything. You just
correct.
have to execute it, hit it. The other one takes the parameter,
Parameter you
and then
pass
there
that
is
and
put.
the ID. Yeah,
Okay, which is there to update. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is, so if I have for this, the application should run. So I'll try to run the server. Okay, and this is not linked to the application that I'm running now. Therefore, I'll end it here.
Yeah.
Mm, okay, where are us? Where are we? This. So I have this application created just to give you an idea of this documentation. Okay, so I'll run this. So my application is running. All right, so this application is running. What I'll do is I'll try to open the endpoint of this application. Okay, so this is the front end part of my application which I have created front end for. Meaning, if I go to the application, I'll see that in the which one I read, which is the okay app. So you'll see that okay, these are the actual endpoints created to interact with the application. Okay, we will never see render template in APIs. Okay, so these are with the help of normal Flask, right? So what we are trying to do is we are creating. So these are the endpoints that are actually which are actually there to interact using front end.
Yeah.
And then there are some exposed endpoints. What are the exposed endpoints? These are the
Right.
exposed endpoints.
Got it. Got it.
All right. So if I want to interact with the application, these are the, let's say, all the categories that I've created. Okay. And if I click on any of them, I can see, okay, there are certain items. Okay. I have created what we say, even the front end to create item. Or if I go back, I can create a category. So this is where I can, human user can interact with application. Now, if I want my another application to interact with application, it can interact using these endpoints. So these endpoints are different because these endpoints actually update. Okay,
Right.
I have not created update to for the front end, but I've exposed update for the application. So what happens is if this gives me information of what it takes as an input, what it shows. So how does the request go? This is the raw form. Okay, so if I click on execute, what actually hits the server is this. Okay, the command line analogy of what we are trying to do with this interaction of
Right.
insomnia.
Right.
Okay, what we'll see is response. Okay, and then there are other codes defined. So what are the other codes? What are the possible codes? Either if you when you hit a URL, either you will get a success status code. There is a chance that the URL that you're trying to hit does not exist, so you'll get 404. And
Right.
there is a possibility that if you hit the URL with certain data and the application crashes due to some error, so you will get
Okay.
500. Okay,
Yeah.
so we understand this. Now we need to understand the status codes. Okay,
Hmm.
so I mean these are pretty you may have seen this status codes very frequently, so this is okay. Fine.
Yeah.
So if I so this is called as documentation. Why we call it as documentation? Because this gives the information of the application, what all application can do, what type of data it can take, what type of data or response it can give. We can directly see from here without having to interact with the application manually. Okay, and this is how I can use, or this is how I can use the functionality of application within my application.
Right.
Okay, so if I'm, for example, if I'm here, I cannot use this functionality. I can simply interact with it. I can work with it. I cannot use it in my application. I cannot incorporate it, but the ones that are exposed can be incorporated. Okay, so
Right.
if I mean I've got similar to what we can see. I've got one endpoint which is common. That is where you can see all the categories. What you need to do is simply execute. Okay, executing it will give me the response body. This is the response body, and if you see here, this is also the response body, but response body in case of a browser is actually an HTML. Okay,
Right.
and the response body in case of API is a JSON. All right. So what I'm
Right.
getting here, I cannot do anything of this information. I cannot manipulate it. I cannot use it. This information, I can use it because I can parse and manipulate JSON.
Right.
All right. So this is what we are trying to create now, because this is, what I'm showing you is already done. Okay. But as I said, we will be moving ahead with the application that we created. This is was the already created application. So we'll be moving ahead with the application that we created in the session and that did not have the exposed endpoints. So we'll try to create some
Okay.
exposed endpoints.
Correct. Okay.
Okay, so I'll close this application here. You can go through other endpoints also. If at the end of the session, I'll share the complete code so that you can check the other endpoints also.
Yeah.
All right, we haven't got much time left, and I won't be taking this session for very long. Well, the reason being quiz, right? So this is something that is not coming tomorrow, but still. So I'll try to finish it as fast as possible. Okay, if there is any doubt, if you think I'm going a bit fast, something is not understood, just
No,
stop.
that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll stop it here and we'll open the folder of the application that we were working with. It's week 5 scale. All right. So at this point, I have the front end thing, but I don't have the expose thing. So what is something that I'll do? I'll create the APIs. And in general, so for example, you may have seen that from the very day we introduced Flask, we have been calling this application as app.py. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Similarly, the name, the convention or the nomenclature that goes with APIs or the files that contain APIs, it is resources. Okay. So we'll create a file called resources.py.
Okay.
So this resources.py got created here. Now I want to link this resources.py with my actual application. Okay, so first I'll do some certain import statements, right? So what we need first is Flask RESTful. So from Flask RESTful import API in a resource. What are these? I'll come to that. Okay, so these are the two basic things that we need to import. Okay, now what did we do while creating models? This is very similar to, the configuration is pretty much similar to doing the same thing in models. So we imported the main object that was creating the thing that worked all along the session. Okay, that is SQL Alchemy.
Right.
That is the DB object with the help of SQL Alchemy.
Yeah.
Similarly, what I'll do, I'll create the API object with the help of API.
Okay.
Okay, that is done. Then I'll start defining the classes. So in model, these are the model classes. Here I'll define the resource classes. All right. So how is that done? Class. Now here I will define a name for API. For example, see, so what is happening here in my app.py? I was, where is, okay, app.app2.py. I created route, defined a
Mhm.
route, and there itself I created what it does. Okay. The
Right.
method was something that came up as and when required. All right. But that is
Right.
not the case with, we will just change this sequence in while creating the resource. Okay. So for example, I'm creating API. Generally, we name a class name starting with capital. So I'll do that. So we create an API. And why are we creating this API for? For update and delete. Okay. So I've created an API. Any name you can put. Okay.
Mhm.
Here,
Okay.
this class will inherit all the properties of resource class. Okay. What happened in SQL Alchemy? We created the table name, let's say category, and then it was inheriting db.model,
DB model. Right.
right? So similarly, this will import a resource class. Okay. So what does this resource class provide? It provides me all the endpoints. Sorry, all the HTTP methods. So it provides me get,
Okay.
it provides me post, it provides me put, provides me delete, provides me head
All the HTTP methods are part of that class.
class. So all those are defined HTTP methods, which comes from resource class. Okay.
Okay.
In Flask, while creating an endpoint was important, and what the endpoint was doing, that function was important. The function name was not important, that we gave by ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? In resource or in this API, function name is important because function name is actually done by the method name.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so whenever we call a method, the name of the function with the same method name gets called. Okay, for example, what
Okay.
I'm trying to say here, for example, this API. So what happens? It hits this endpoint with method get, right? So
Mm-hmm.
whatever is happening with this endpoint must be defined within this get function or get method that we are writing here.
So it's almost like a parameter being passed there. That
Parameter.
path? No, that path. That
No, path
slash
is
something.
that's what. So path is that's what. So see, that is not what we are doing here. That is the difference that I'm telling you from Flask. What is happening in Flask? We define the path initially and give methods later. I mean, within the controller function, view function.
Okay.
Here we do not give path. We create
Mm-hmm.
all the I mean, what should happen when a particular method, I mean, a particular endpoint is hit with a method, what should happen, that we define first, and then we
Mm-hmm.
will link this class with the
Okay.
URI.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that is done later.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll just at this point I will write this here. Yes, here, and I'll write okay. Now within a class, how do we define a method? Okay, so this is the conventional way of defining. We define a method and write self.
Yeah.
So that is what we are doing here. Whatever happens within the controller function will now come here. Okay, so let's say I'm using this get method to actually retrieve all the categories that are there. Okay, so what I'll
Right.
do, what I have done in Flask, so in Flask, what I've done, let's say if I go to app to this one, right?
Yeah. You
So
do
we
the
have,
query and get the data.
that's all. So we'll do the query here. Okay, we'll create this some variable all cat equals to, then we'll do the query. So it will be category dot query dot all, because we want all of them. Okay. Now the thing is, how does this API or resources.py know what category
Exactly.
it is?
I was just going to come to ask that question. How
Yeah.
does it know which category?
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll import it from models, because models has it all defined, right? So we'll import everything from models. Because why? Okay, so in app2.py, why did we import everything in models? Because we were making use of those things within the model.
Okay.
Now we are making the use of all those classes, model classes in resources. So we'll import everything in resources.py.
Okay. So that it understands what the models are.
Yeah, right. Now when I did this with SQL Alchemy within in models, what did I do? I simply I did not pass it as an argument, but if everything means model, I mean, I showed it in the last session also, if everything model and the controllers were in the same app.py, you can pass app here. right?
Yeah.
But we cannot do it here because we don't have app here.
Correct. So you just have the basic model
Similarly,
there.
similarly, we do not have app here in
Right.
resources. So similarly, what we'll do, what we have done in app2.py, we have initiated with db.init app,
Right.
right?
Right.
So similarly, what I'll do, I'll initiate api.init app
Okay.
and pass app here. Okay. Now, how does this app2.py know what API is?
Again, you have to import it, right?
So we'll import from
From
resources.
import
Instead of
star.
importing API, we'll import everything.
Yeah.
In resources, we have this API, this object created, right? So that is what we have imported, and then we have added import. I mean, init app is done. With this,
Right.
now we have connected our application. Now, the way we have done with models, now we have connected with the APIs also, the resources.
All right.
Okay. Doing this will allow us to now manipulate the database from models, from resources.
There is okay. Can you just take a small thing here? So now, where are we? We are defining a database within our main program itself now, right?
Hmm.
So supposing we want to separate this out also
Hmm.
at app.config, rather than putting it into this, can we put it like we have put resources out, we have put models out?
Hmm.
Can we put this also out?
Okay. What you want to put out?
The app.config statement, line number 10,
Hmm.
right?
Okay. So you want this statement to somehow come in resources.
Not resources,
Uh-huh.
something like resources. See, you have resources, you have models, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
So
yeah,
can we
definitely
also,
we can do. We can do that. It will have some more import statements
Mhm.
in different module that we create. For example, if I create a module called configure.py,
Correct.
okay, so what I'll do, I'll
Mhm.
instantiate here, okay, then resources will instantiate here, and then what I've done in app2.py, I've imported everything from these two to app2, right?
Mhm.
What I'll do is I'll import everything from these models and resources to configure.py.
Mhm.
From flask.py, this app2.py, I'll import app.py,
Right.
okay, then config it,
Right.
write a function called create app, and then again send that app back to
Okay. Got it.
this module.
All right. Yeah. Sorry.
We can play
That
around
was a
with
small
it.
diversion.
I mean, we can play around within modules, right? It's like code
Right.
going from here to there. That's it. The sequence
Yeah.
and
I was just trying to understand the concept of how we link it all, right? Like we have imported and all, we have linked it all together.
yeah, yeah, fine, fine. So there is a good screencast on structure of Flask app, right? Week 5.
Yeah.
The same thing
I'll
is
check
done
it
on that,
out.
so that you can refer once again. All right. So the thing is, I want to keep everything separate also, but connected also. That's why I'm using
Yeah.
very simple terms.
Correct.
Okay, fine. So we'll go with this
Hmm.
endpoint. All right. Endpoint we
Yeah.
haven't defined yet. We have just defined what will happen if get method is hit. What will be the URI? We are yet to define. Okay. So
Right.
here, all cat category dot query dot all. What does this give me?
It'll get
Category
you
dot
all the
query.
categories. It'll get you
Yeah,
all the
that's all. But
categories.
no, no.
Yeah.
In terms of data structure, what does it give me?
Data structure, it'll still be a JSON because it'll come as a body, right?
That's okay. But no,
Hmm.
no. See, I'm not hitting
Oh,
a URL now.
okay, okay. You're not
I
hitting.
haven't done that. I
Oh,
am just
it is a
list of
list of
objects.
dictionaries, list of objects. Correct.
Objects.
Yeah.
Because if you remember CLI, this is what we were doing and we were getting
A
objects,
list of
list of objects,
objects. Yeah.
right? So all underscore cat, this will give me list of objects. Now what I want to do is, uh, I want to create in a body such that it returns a proper JSON. So that
Hmm. Correct.
responsibility is on us. We have to make sure that what we receive
Correct.
or what we get from database, see, database, whatever we are getting is object. Okay.
Right. Correct.
So input to or retrieval in an API is an object, but responsibility of an API is to give JSON. So as a
Right.
developer, it is our responsibility to convert this object into JSON.
Correct.
Okay. So that is what we are going to do now. So
Because
category,
this all category will have an object, and each object will have ID and category name, right?
yeah, that's all. So object by any chance is not a JSON serializable. What is JSON serial? What is the meaning of JSON serializable? It cannot convert an object to something that can be converted into JSON.
Correct.
Okay, so we need to make sure, I mean, we need to retrieve some, some manipulations of data has to be done. It has to be converted from an object to a data that is comprehensible as a in the form of JSON and then represented as JSON.
Correct. Right.
Okay, because this class what I've defined, or the resource class what Flask RESTful defines, can only deliver JSON or can only return JSON. Okay, so we
Correct.
need to
Yeah.
make sure how data is turned into JSON. Okay,
Yeah.
so all cat is an object, is a list of object. So what I can do
Mhm.
is, to get an individual object, I'll just run a for
You
loop.
just parse it for each
Yeah,
object for cat and
that's all.
cats in all
That's all.
cat,
We'll parse it. And for example, what I'll do is I'll just create a empty dictionary here, and then we'll play around with that.
and just add each thing as a dictionary. Got it.
Yes. So cat JSON. Let's say this is a cat JSON dictionary.
Correct. So for cat
So
and
for
cat, then
cat,
you say cat dot ID
yeah, that
equal
is
to
what.
that.
So that is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to do. So all cat, where is all? Okay. So every cat is a object,
Correct.
right? So what I need to do is I need to fill this dictionary so that it takes ID as key and the name of that whatever that particular category
As
as
the
an
value.
as the
Value.
value. Okay. So what I'll do is this cat JSON. Did you get this statement?
Yeah, got it. So you're reading it. You're taking the key value as ID and putting the name
Assigning the
as the
name to
value.
that.
Well, ID.
Yeah. Assigning the name to that cat to that particular ID. With
Okay.
that, I'll have a dictionary which is a very easily JSON serializable because they somewhat look same. So what I can return is all cat.
Just return cat underscore JSON. No,
Sorry, cat underscore JSON. Correct.
code JSON. Yeah.
Cat underscore JSON. Okay. So this will happen when I hit a particular URL with get method. Now what that URL is. So
Correct.
what we'll do now, we will now add a URL to our API object. Now how to add a URL? By using add underscore resource. Therefore, we call this file as resources.py.
Okay.
Okay, I mean you can name it anything, but the more intuitive it is, the more understanding we get. Okay, so resources.py is nothing but a file of set of resources. What are the resources in terms of API URLs?
Okay. So you add this add resources, and then do you put something inside it?
Yeah,
No.
correct. So add resources is a method. What does it take? What do I want to do? I want to add resource for this class, right? So I'll have to first pass what class I'm talking about. Okay, and then define what the resource is. Okay, just like app.route. So app.route, what did it take? It took the URL and the methods because
Yeah.
methods were defined already.
Right.
Here we are defining what method will do, and then uh, uh, method are defined, and then we will add. So what is remaining? URL is remaining, and the class
Yeah.
where the methods are defined that have to
Yeah.
be linked. So that is done with the help of add.
Hmm.
It's not add resources, I guess. It's add resource.
Add resource. Right.
Add resource. So
You
here I'll define what the resource is.
you define the class and you define the path.
Yeah, the endpoint, right?
Endpoint.
So generally we do something like v2 and v3 because we also give the version of APIs. I mean, generally in general sense, APIs have endpoint looking like something like this: v2 slash
Correct. The
API
version number
slash,
and API and the
and then whatever I want. Let's say
yeah.
category.
Yeah.
Okay, but this is not what I've defined in YAML, so I'll go with YAML. Okay, YAML meaning the
The
insomnia, right? Because I
documentation.
want to
Yeah.
test it.
Yeah.
So with this, I will test this API with three different ways. One is insomnia, second is postman, and third
Yeah.
is curl.
Okay.
Because after all, it is endpoint, and then there are multiple ways of hitting an endpoint.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now I remember what we did in the last cast. We actually created the postman and ran it on the postman. I'm getting old, man. I'm forgetting things.
Yeah, it was 3 days back. Okay, anyways,
I know.
so all right, so I'll add the endpoint. So I'll give the endpoint that I've defined here, right? So
Yeah.
insomnia, it was all underscore categories, and that is all is required. It is all underscore categories. Okay, so the endpoint is defined, and what will happen now if I hit this endpoint
It should
and
come to this class.
it
Run
should,
this query.
yeah. Now there can be certain confusions. I'll come to that, but
Hmm.
at this point, this is pretty straightforward, right? So this is
Yeah.
what we will do now. We'll save it and we'll see if we can make any change.
So what have we written in the main program now? So this is we have defined it within the resources, right?
Hmm. So in main
Can you go back
program,
to?
we are not doing anything because see, main program will only use this API.
So how is it using? Can you go back to
At
the
this
main
point, it is
program?
not. At this point, it is not, right?
Okay, right.
I've
Yeah,
just
that's what.
defined and then I'll test. At this point, this resources.py is linked to database.
Right.
Okay, the same database that the original application was working with.
Oh, so we are running this, creating the uh, web server which is running this py resources.py.
Hmm.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so where am I here? So at this point, my application is just this resource is actually linking with the database, the same database that I was
Yeah,
using with the application. Okay, so meaning if this app2.py has this thing, right, query dot all.
mm,
Okay, so what HTML gives me, this API also should give me the same thing because
yeah,
I've defined it that way.
yeah.
Right, we'll try to see. So it is Python app2.py. Okay, so application is running. First, we'll see the categories. So this comes at the base URL. These are the, this is the what we'll say, the database that we have, and
Yeah,
this is the front end that we have linked. That I mean, this retrieval of data is done by the controller, not the API,
yeah.
right? Because this is linked to front end. Now we'll do the same thing with Insomnia. So I'll click on get, and it actually takes no parameter. So I'll just try to execute it. All right, so that is categories get. Okay, try to execute it. What does it give? Gives me cat
I
dot
think
cat
it
id.
is.
So okay, we'll see what happens.
See, somewhere the main program must be referring to cat. So if you go to app.py, you're running, right?
Hmm.
Okay, cat.cat ID should come for cat and all cats. You got all
Okay,
the
I think
categories.
so. This is, I don't know.
No, that is fine. It is just going through one loop.
Should I not pass it as string? Why?
No, I think you should pass it as string, right?
Okay, let me check with that because it
Okay.
is a defined variable, right? So it should not be a string.
Yeah, yeah, that's also right. Can't be a string.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that was the issue. It was a variable.
All right. So I am more used to form, no? Therefore. All right. So we have this. So we can see that we have linked our API, this resource, to the database. Okay. Now I want to do the thing that was
But
most.
one thing I still not got it. See,
Hmm.
go back to that code. So you have created the resource, which is a separate resource.py, right?
Hmm.
How have you linked this resources to that app2.py? Because somewhere it needs to understand. So you have imported it there, is it?
Where?
Because your app2.py is the one that's running on the
Hmm.
browser server.
Yeah. So this is how, right?
So you have
That's what I've
imported
done.
the
So
resources.
what is, see, app2 is having this object app, then the
Correct. We have
resources
already
is
linked it. It's already running, pulling that resources. Got it.
and the object that I'm creating with the help of resource API
Yeah,
is now
it's coming from here.
initiating. Yeah. So this statement
Correct.
does that, right? This one.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, so at this point, we can test one of the endpoint. Now, other endpoint is update underscore get, and this is what you have to follow for lab assignment also. I mean, see what the endpoint takes and what it gives. Okay, so if I see here,
Uh,
if I click on this, if I execute, I won't get anything. It will get error because nothing is defined, right?
Correct. See, this much I've
But
done. The get thing in the lab assignment I've done. Week 6.
okay, all right,
Now the post one
okay,
is I have to figure out how to send that value through the
right. So I'll show you.
yeah.
Okay, so thing, this thing first I need to
Right.
understand what is happening with this URL. What is happening? It is update category is just to make me understand. Okay, URLs are intuitive, but
Right.
it is taking cat ID. Why? Because I need to know which category I want to update. Okay, so that
Mhm.
category is passed with the help of URL itself, and that we have done with week 5 also. I mean,
Correct.
the
Yeah.
category we have clicked. For example, if I want to add student, I guess there we are working with
Mm.
student and course. So if
Yes.
I want to update a student, it should take the student.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is done with the help of URL. Now, if I want to update this category ID, I mean, if I so this get, I mean, it does not do anything, but still. So let's say if I want to get a particular category, what it is doing?
It is sending a category ID, doing a query
Correct.
on the
So it
respective
is,
category and giving you back that value.
yeah. So what it is doing actually, it is giving me if category whatever ID I put in, it gives me
Mhm.
a JSON which has category ID, category name. I mean information of that particular category.
Correct.
Okay, and then we have another endpoint. So if you note, the endpoint is same, update underscore category and then cat ID, but the method is different.
Get and a post. Put.
Get and put. Okay, so how does this behave? This when I try to execute, this takes C request body as input.
It has the body we have to send.
Okay, so I'm sending the body. How do I make sure that this body is taken here with the help of this, right? So I've defined it in the YAML
Right.
in path and request body. Okay, so it takes a random example. But how is it getting processed at the backend, meaning by the API? That is something you have to
Um,
see. Okay, so there are two ways I'm giving input to this particular endpoint. One is through the URL where I specify what ID I have to perform this operation on.
mhm.
Second thing is the actual operation, meaning
Putting
actual
it in the
operation meaning
body
the
here.
changing the category name from whatever category name it was before to chocolates.
Okay, so in the assignment, we have to change it in the swagger or the insomnia, the body, and then test it out, right?
No, 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 no. So you can see what this is just an example. I mean, if you do
Mm.
not see, for example, if I try to execute, so this
Now
is
it won't do anything. We haven't defined it,
no, 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 see,
right?
just give me a minute. So let's say that is true. It won't do anything. But see, if I go to cancel and try it out, if I click on try it out, what will happen? It is taking a default request body.
Yes.
That default request body is defined in the Swagger. Okay.
Correct.
What if I wanted to change this to not chocolate, some other name? So I can change it here.
That is what I think. So for assignment, we'll just have to change it and test it here, or do we
Yeah.
have to pass it again through a
No,
JSON?
no, no, no. Document. See, once your documentation is defined, it is only this. You don't
Okay.
have to. You don't get to work with YAML anymore then, right?
Okay.
So this is just to define how a YAML is created, and then once it is created, then every thing. See, why we are creating documentation at the first place? Then this is where you can deal with APIs, all the methods it define, all the inputs it takes, everything.
Easily.
Then
Easily. Yeah.
yeah,
Becomes
everything.
very
So
easy. Yeah.
yeah, correct. Everything by with the help of this UI only, the one that I see in gray color, not the YAML.
Yeah.
So YAML only defines certain structure by some default things. I can anyway change this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So that was the later. We'll change it later. Okay. Now we
Yeah.
need to work out to detail. How this is being dealt at the backend. So first
Model.
we'll create this
Correct.
endpoint, then we'll create the other.
Yeah.
So we'll go to resources. Now the thing is, if you see, there are two get methods in the here. Get all categories and
But
get
the path is different. One which
path
takes a
is
parameter.
yeah. Okay. All right. So this means if I want to create get that takes the parameter,
Hmm.
I need to define what I need to define get in that way.
Correct.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll create another class. I'll create another class. I'll add API. What is this endpoint doing? I mean, this endpoint or this controller at this point, whatever I'm doing here within this API is not doing justice with the endpoint that I've defined. That
Right.
is here, update, right?
Update. Because
And
this is
also
only getting
the
you. Yeah. It is
yeah,
only
yeah,
reading
and
and
also
getting all categories.
also the class name, right? So what I'll do,
Yeah.
I'll just create another API underscore R which says okay read,
Mhm.
okay, and then what I'll do is whatever I've done here, I'll shift it there.
Yeah.
So this is API underscore R, which talks about reading, and that's what I've done. Okay,
Yeah.
and then if I want to, link this, what I'll just do, I'll change the
Update the
class.
class name there.
I'll have to do right now. Here I
Yeah.
will add the actual endpoints. Okay,
Yeah.
so first one is get. Okay, self is there.
Yeah.
That is okay. If now in my app2.py, if at all any endpoint was taking variable, how was that variable dealt with? That
We
variable
had to
has to be
put
put
it
as
as a parameter
argument.
input. Yeah.
Yeah, that has to be put as an argument within the function. So same thing we have to do
Mm.
here. Okay, but self will remain. Okay, you cannot move self because it
Self
is a
comma self
method.
comma argument. Right.
So it is a method of class. Therefore, we have to put self.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'll put cat ID because that is what I am taking in the endpoint.
Yeah.
That is what I'll be taking later in the endpoint. I have not defined that. Okay, what does it do? So when I go to this endpoint, update category get ID with get method, what it does is it takes the parameter get ID from the path, okay, queries the database and returns me information about that particular category.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is pretty simple that I can do, right? So what I'll do
Mhm.
is I'll simply again create another cat ID underscore JSON. Okay, I'll create this. Sorry. Okay, and then I'll query the database with the help of this cat ID. Okay, so this underscore cat equals to category
Query
dot
and
two things here.
filter.
I can use
Filter
either
by.
filter by or since cat ID is the primary key, I can directly use get.
Right. You can just use get.
Right. So this is the cat ID that I'll be taking.
Right.
Once this is done, what I'll get this
You will
time
get
I
the
will get a
object again.
single
You'll
single
get a
object.
list object. List object.
Again, list of object or single object.
you will in this time get a single object because you're getting one record returned.
one request, right? So this will be a single object, and then here I don't have to work with loops and all. Okay. So what I will
Directly,
return?
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what does my API give me? What does it give me? What does it return? It returns something like this: cat ID, cat name, items.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. So what do I have to do? Simply,
Again,
I can fill up this cat ID JSON,
correct.
right? So what I'll do is cat. I can write cat ID JSON. It will be this underscore cat.
Dot cat ID.
Sorry. What is the key in my response? What is the key? Cat ID. I can
Cat
simply
ID.
write
Right.
cat ID. Okay, and that will be equal to this cat dot cat ID. Right?
Right.
Similarly, what I'll do, cat ID, then we have, what do I have? Category, cat name,
Name. Name.
cat name. So same here, it will change cat name, cat name. Third thing is
Uh,
items,
items. Okay.
items. Cat dot items. Now the thing is, there is a problem here. Okay, what is the problem? I'll tell you when I try to return cat ID JSON.
The items, is it a relationship list or
Yeah, the
it's a
relationship.
single column? Hmm?
Relationship.
Yeah. So then you can have multiple values there, right?
Yeah, multiple values, that's okay. Because see, this cat dot items is a list. A list
Mhm.
can be a correct JSON, I mean a valid JSON object, right? A
Okay.
list can have a JSON can have a list. That is okay.
Right.
But if you see closely, what is this list made of? Right? So this list is made up of items which are objects.
Right.
So again, a list of objects is not a valid JSON, right?
Which we won't be able to put it there.
Yeah.
Correct.
So we won't be able to put it as a JSON and then won't be able to return a valid JSON. Okay. So
Right.
what I need to do is I just need to parse it. Okay. I just need to parse it as, a dictionary, simple list of items or something.
So you'll have to make that as a dictionary and then attach that as items.
Yes. So what I'll do is I'll simply make a list. Let's say cat underscore items
Items.
is a blank list.
Yep.
Okay, then here I'll have to work with a simple, a small for loop. So it's for item in
In cat and this cat dot cat items.
this cat dot
This cat
items.
dot items.
For cat,
And
for items in this cat dot items, what I need to do is only retrieve the item name,
so item
right?
name equal to that
So what
particular
I'll do
name.
is this cat items. Sorry for the names. Cat items dot append item dot item. Okay, get this thing?
Yes.
See, item name is an attribute of object item. So this object is coming from here.
Yeah.
That is what I have been appending in the dictionary. And then finally, this cat ID JSON items will be nothing but a list that is
Appended
cat
there.
items. Although the response object shows that it should be a dictionary, but my question statement is flexible, not the lab assignments, right? So I can return it as a list.
Yeah.
Okay, so once that is done, then what I'll do is I'll simply return
That cat
cat ID
underscore
JSON.
ID JSON.
Okay, that's all. right? So now I have dealt with the first type of endpoint. Okay, now I need to just add it. Okay, so how do I do that? Right? Same thing I'll do.
Yeah.
API dot add resource. Okay, what will be the class I want to add? It's
Class name
API
is API underscore UD.
UD, and the endpoint I'll define as
That's
uh,
backslash. That from the
where
documentation we can get it.
update underscore
Update
category.
category. We should put a backslash there, no?
Yeah, yeah.
Forward slash, sorry.
Let's see if it works. Just want to check. If this is done, let's save it, and our application is anyway running, so I will try to hit it. So I'll hit this URL, try it out, and with let's say two only, so see what it shows. Yeah, so it is giving me two tools, and there are two system
Yeah.
tools and breads and scissors, which can be verified from the front
Bread
end
and
also.
scissors, correct.
Okay, so if I go back to stationery, I won't see anything. So fruits, I won't see anything. So I think this can throw error because we are trying to append something in the dictionary and then right. So let me see. Let me try this with three.
No, you won't get an error because it's an empty dictionary and empty list, so you'll get back an empty list.
Okay, fine. So the thing is, I
Yeah, I
was
think that's the one good thing about lists. Even if it's empty, you get back an empty list.
okay, fine. Yeah. So I was thinking if there was any issue. So
Yeah.
okay, some minute thing that we need to take care of is see this cat ID is an integer, right?
Ah, right.
What do we put here? It
You
should
have
be
to
an
put an
integer.
integer somewhere there, na? Specify
Yeah.
integer.
But
INT.
see, here when I'm specifying it to be an within the URL, I'm not specifying that it is an integer.
Right.
Okay, so I was expecting an error, but it didn't come. Somehow it passed that. But the better practice would be to just do this
Integer. Yeah.
because probably at some point it is parsing it correctly, and probably in some browser it might not. Okay.
Yeah.
Now we are done with two URLs. Let me just go to Postman at this point
Update.
no?
Postman.
Because I
Yeah.
want to check if this works in Postman also, right? So I mean it should work. There's no issue with that. Okay, so if there is an issue with Postman, if somehow you're not able to work with Postman, there is something called as Thunder Client, which is an
No,
extension
Postman
of
is
ES.
fine. It's working. In fact, on that Wednesday thing, I ran it with the Postman also.
Anyway, so see, there are two things. One is the Postman software, I mean the web application.
Hmm.
Okay, and then the other one is embedded application, which is this. Okay, the software
Which one is
will
this?
so, huh?
Which one is that one?
I mean, see, so this is the embedded application. We have
Okay.
downloaded it locally, right? So
Okay.
Postman also provides a web application, just like
Right.
Replit. So in
Hmm.
Replit, we won't be able to run localhost. Why? Because the Replit machine and the machine we are working on are different. So you can
Right.
directly cannot run on 127.0.0.1.
Right.
Similarly, with will be the case with Postman. So in that case, what you need to do is we'll have to provide host
Hmm.
0.0.0.0 special IP,
Yeah.
which will then give the system or give us where it is exactly running and pass it here. So
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say here is, so when an application is running, it gives me, okay, this is running here. Okay, it's
Right.
running on this. If I give host, it will give me other addresses where it is running.
Hmm.
Okay, so that IP address has to be passed if I'm using web application, Postman.
Yeah.
All right. So now what I'll do, since it is local, everything will work fine. So I'll just add the URL here. So running on HTTP this 5000. What is the URL?
It was
Update category.
update category
Update
and
underscore category and then two. This
two.
category name. Okay, so if we do this, yeah, so we should be able to get the same thing
Yeah.
working here. Same thing can be done with Thunder client. So it gives you the pretty much the same interface.
Okay, got it.
Okay, you can change method here, send it,
Mm.
and then you'll get the response here. So all these things I'm just showing because everyone has a different approach to do the same. Let's kill this new request, and I'll keep this both things everything open. The last thing would be to deal with a variable that is also there in the URL, but also
With the body.
taking the argument
Yep.
in the body. Okay, so since the argument is taken by the body, we cannot define it anywhere within the API. So what we need to do is we need to bring in certain things that do two things. One is to actually declare an argument, declaring
Uh-huh.
meaning I will be using this argument for my data transfer.
Okay.
Okay, and second thing, to be able to parse this argument whenever this argument is sent with a request.
Right.
Okay, so these two things have to be done. So the declaration is done at the top of API, the way we declare variables in any programming language. Okay, and
Mhm.
parsing is done when the URL is hit. For example, what is happening here? So when I hit this URL, this function is running, right? So parsing
Right.
has to be done within the function.
Right.
So that is what we'll try to do. So that is provided by something called as request parsing. That is called as request parsing, provided by rec parser.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Okay, rec parse, not request rec parser. It's rec parse.
Mm.
So this is again something that is provided by Flask RESTful. Now, how do we use it? What I do is I'll define an argument. How do I do that? I'll just create a variable called as parser. Okay, now this parser will do two things. What are the two things that I said? One is declaration of argument, defining an argument, what is its name, what type of information it takes. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and second is parsing this argument within the function.
Okay.
Okay, so parser, what I'll do, parser is a variable which I'll be using to deal with this thing, what I'm writing here. So that is called as rec parse dot request parser. Request request parser. Rec parse dot request parser. Okay, and then I'll add argument. Now once this is defined, I'll do the two tasks why I have brought it here. Okay, so one is to define argument. Parser dot, how did I add resource? API dot add resource. How do I add
Mm.
argument? Parser dot add argument. Parser. Parser dot add argument. Okay. What is the argument that I'll be dealing with? That will be category name, because that is something that I want to change or update.
Okay.
Okay. At this point, I'll just define what type of value it takes. String. What is its type? So type is string.
String. String.
That's all. Okay. This is defining the argument. Now I want to parse this argument. Where do I want to parse it? In the put method, right? So that I'll do here.
Yes.
I'll create a new method called put. F put. Okay. Self. Again, I'll be using same URL. So cat ID is there
Right.
because it's there.
Right.
Now here I want to parse it. The argument that I'll be sending with the request has to be parsed here. Okay. So how do I do that?
Mhm.
I'll write args equals to parser, because parser is allowing me to do that. Okay, and then parse underscore args.
Okay.
So these two statements. This is declaration of argument. This is the argument I'll be using with my request body, and this is where I'll be parsing that argument whenever this particular method is hit, or method this function is hit. Okay. So this args is nothing but a dictionary of whatever values I am parsing.
So
Or
one
say,
question here. So the word parser that you have said, parser dot, right?
hmm,
Now
hmm.
that can be anything XYZ, right? And
Yeah,
on
yeah,
top
yeah.
also we'll have to put it as
So you have
XYZ
defined it here. So what you define here has to be used throughout.
throughout. Because in this thing I will have multiple parsing things, so I'll be using different names.
Yeah, yeah, you can.
Okay, got it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, just give me a minute. All right. Okay, so I have passed my argument here. Now I'll use
Yeah.
it.
Hmm.
Okay, so now I will use it. How will I use it? So this args is nothing but a dictionary. It will be dictionary. How it will be? It will be something like this. Args equals to, it
Mhm.
will be a dictionary with this variable name which I have defined as the key.
Mhm.
Okay, and value whatever I am putting in the body. What was there? Chocolate. It will be something like this.
Category name. Okay, got it.
Right. So now I'll have to, since this is a simple dictionary to work with, I can simply, how do I pass args, or how do I take this name chocolate?
One second. How did you get that category name?
So category name is the argument. So
Okay,
I've
that's the.
created here and passed here. Use that here. Okay. This is how I am implicitly putting
No,
my,
it's inside. You got the category.
I got the category name, and whatever I put in as a value in the body, that will come here as a
Hmm.
value of this category
Okay,
name. So for
right.
example, if I add another argument, something called as, let's say, see, there is one thing called control D, which will copy the same statement
Control
just
D.
below.
Yeah?
Control D. Okay, so
Okay.
add argument. I can write category ID,
Okay.
something like
Okay.
this,
Okay.
something,
Right.
anything like this. Okay, so if I do this, what will happen? This args will have another argument called as, another key called as category
ID.
ID. This is how it works.
Okay, got it. So depending on the number of values that we pass back from the
See,
request
whatever
body.
argument, see, adding argument means whatever arguments you want to use to send as a request body implicitly,
Correct.
not with the
Correct.
help of URL. Why? Because we don't want this information to go as a piece of URL.
Correct. So it's part of the request body. Yeah.
Yeah. So that once this is done, I'll just do the same thing, right? What I want to do is I want to change the category name. So currently I can simply retrieve this category first.
Mm-hmm.
Category dot query
Query
dot
dot get
get
category ID, cat
cat
ID.
ID. Okay, and then I know this cat ID, it is a single object. So cat ID, sorry, this cat dot
Cat
category
name
name,
equal to that new value
sorry, cat
args.
name equals to the one that I'm parsing. So how will I actually use it? It
It
will
is
be
that
args
dot category name.
category name.
Yeah.
Right? When this is done, once this is done, I have
And
to save it to the database. So I'll do the commit.
DB's add and
Add is not required because see,
uh,
cat name is already there in the
correct
database.
update. You just commit then DB
I
session
just
commit.
commit. That's all.
Yeah.
Update only requires a commit. Okay. Once this is done, so ultimately what I'm doing, I'm passing, when I hit this URL, I give a piece of information that is the category name, and you update the old category name with the one that I'm providing.
Yeah.
Okay. That is what is happening at the back end. I am not retrieving anything.
Correct.
Okay, I just need to know an acknowledgement that okay, this has happened successfully.
Mm.
So what I'll do, I'll return nothing, but everything I give as a
200.
200 or 201 will be taken as a status code. So once I get the status code, this status code refers to created. Okay, in the one
Updated.
we
Yeah.
updated, created, right? So 201
Okay.
will be returned as a status code after successful operation.
Yep.
Okay, that's all. So if I save this, let's see what happens.
And now if you run it, it will work. Yeah.
Okay, so this is our second thing. Third thing is this, right? So automatically I have this category name equals to chocolate, which I'll be using.
Yeah.
So if I execute this, return something, it returned nothing, means something has happened. Now, instead of going to database, I'll just retrieve everything from here.
Yeah. You can just go
Right.
there and get it.
So if I see, the second thing has been changed to chocolate.
Yeah.
Okay, same thing can be done with the postman. So in postman, I have to give this body as JSON. So my task is streaming, that's all, because I was working with some other application. So category name equals to uh, what can we
Sweet.
put? Let's say sweets. Okay, and then I want to change it T, right? I want to change the third item. So if I
Yeah. Third one.
also have to change the method. So if I do this, it will return nothing, meaning, and if you see the status here, it is 201 created.
201 create.
Okay, and then same thing, what I'll do is I'll do a get to all category, but this updated to sweets,
It's
right? So this is how it works.
okay. Tell me, in the assignment, we also have that we have to show the internal server error message. How do we do that? How do we, generate that? Do
YAML
we have to do
itself.
it?
So what will happen? Let's say I do something tricky here. Let's say I will return stat. Okay, so I know this will throw error.
Okay.
Get it. Okay, so I will go to this one 3 and execute. Yeah, so it is showing me internal server error because this has
Correct.
been defined within the responses.
Yeah. So, but from our coding perspective, do we need to do something or not?
Yeah, so actually what happens is uh, what is happening here, if I see in the backend, some error is being thrown. When does that happen? When I try scat, right? When I try to return an object. So what you need to do
Correct.
is you can try something with, you can do something with try and accept. Okay.
Okay.
So if you try, if this throw errors, you take it as an accept and then return an HTML or sorry, return a JSON that has 500 or whatever it is defined as
Correct.
in the
Internal
document.
server error occurred. Okay. So basically, we control it.
Yeah. So see what happens is at this point, this YAML. So this is showing me, okay, you have received this status code, but the details is that it is actually showing me some response body. This
Hmm.
is something that is returned by the application, not
Correct.
one that I've defined.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, so I can code for that. So there can be two ways. One that I've told you, try and accept.
Hmm.
The other one is something called as error handling.
Error handling. Right.
So error handling allows you to take care of error and show something else
So is
instead
that
of
what
crashing.
we need? Is that what we need to do in the assignment?
Yes. Yeah, and for that, I
So
guess you will you have a screencast quite detailed.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I was going through that. So far, I covered the screencast till the get portion. So I
Okay.
did that.
All right. So that is a very simple thing. You see what happens is in try and accept what we do, we try something. If the error comes, we contain that error and show something if the error comes.
Right.
Right. In what is error handling? Error handling, what it does, error handling works with the status code. So if it receives 500 status code, it will show
Hmm.
it will do something. I mean, you have to define error such
Okay,
way that if you
define
receive,
error codes and say that if you get this error code, do this. If
yeah, if you
this,
get
do
this
this.
status code, do this. That's what you have to do
Hmm.
in error handling. So the
Right.
ultimate overall abstraction is same. How it is actually done is simple. Is simply a code that you have to see in the screencast.
Yeah.
Right. So is
Actually, I got stuck in the Lab 5 assignment because that portal wasn't working. So I spent at least 2, 3 days, kept changing the code to make it work inside the portal. So I lost a couple of days there.
all right. No issues. I mean, the problem still persists. So I'm not sure. I mean, it is out of my hand at this point. So I will just cannot comment at this point.
I know, I know. Just all right. Hey, this is
All
good.
right.
Yeah,
Fine.
thanks a lot. Today's
Okay.
session
Okay.
was very nice. Actually, more people had been there, they would have benefited.
Yeah. But also, this is the quiz effect. Anyways, I'll this recording will be shared later. So will anyway help.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll stop at this point. That
And
should be sufficient.
this code is uploaded somewhere.
Not at this point. I guess till week 5 it is done. Now
Mhm.
this is a part of week six, right? So I will make it a different piece of code. Half of
Uh-huh.
it will be same because we have built up on what we have done previously, and this will have these
Right.
extra coding, right? So you will also have the YAML. I'll also share this YAML.
Mm. And
Okay.
basically, I think if this recording you make it available, that's good because I can refer back to it as I
Yeah,
do
yeah,
my
yeah.
coding.
It will be available by.
Yeah.
So tomorrow anyway you won't be referring, right? So it will be available by Monday.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Harish.
All right, thanks. All right, so I'll stop the recording. Give me
Yeah.
a minute.
Okay.